Welcome to Gaming on a Budget. Today we bring you Black Gold from Fantasy Flight Games, which, according to the side of the box, is a game of drilling and discovery for 2 to 5 prospectors. But in the world of us giant board game geeks, it is an auction, well, not so much an auction, a bidding game, I guess, where you're trying to collect and harvest oil and then sell it for as much as you can get out of it. Now, this game is definitely on the lighter side. It's not something you're going to spend a lot of time learning or teaching. It's something you can pretty well get into pretty quickly. We've taught it to many people, non-gamers. I think one couple that had quite possibly never played a board game before in their life. My wife's nodding eagerly. They were her friends. I don't know. So, it's definitely something I would call accessible. Now, in this game, you're going to be playing what basically boils down to 3 phases. You're going to be selecting, based on turn order, your card for the round, which, where are they? No, that's a sales license. Things like this, which, zooming, will tell you both how many sales licenses, essentially your money, or what you bid with, and how many movement points you'll have for the round. Movement points, well, that brings us to phase 2, wherein you will be driving around your adorable little plastic truck to, let's see, a little truck here, a little red guy, to try and explore the potential sites for oil drilling, which are these little tiles here. Now, the amount of oil you will find is going to be dependent on the number listed on the other side of said tile. In this case, you would have 3 plumes of oil on top of your derrick. Now, once you've done your moving around and establishing of derricks, you're going to go over to this section of the board. Just talk, sweetie.
Explain how you share your movement.
Oh yeah, the movement split. See, this is why you have a camera wife. This section represents the position of your oil carrying train. The train has to be at least as far up as your derrick to transport your oil. Otherwise, you have to pay someone whose train is farther along, or it just gets wasted. So, for example, red here can only harvest up to this line from this line at the bottom. He's only got this range to work with, whereas white has from here down. So, you're going to be dividing your movement points between moving your truck and moving your train. We'll get into that a little more in the poking around, pretending to play the game section. For now, though, what I was referring to earlier was this section, where you will, through various, sorry, tongue twisting here, you will modify the prices each round of the oil at each of 3 different sites. And each person can choose to try and sell their oil at any site. However, there's going to be some contention for the more valuable sites, so you have to decide, do I have enough sales licenses to gain the bid for the contract at a given site? Because if you don't get to sell your oil, you can only store up to 2 at that company. Anything beyond 2 plumes will be wasted. So, yes, the dice, sweetie. Thank you. Just say dice. Good grief. The primary way the prices will be modified is rolling the dice. Now, it's going to be affected both by the color of the number on the dice and the price indicator's current position. But again, cover that more in the gameplay section. So, for now, who is this game for? Well, I would say it's targeted probably at families with older kids. There isn't a great deal, in fact there's almost no reading involved, but some of the strategy elements to the game are going to be difficult for younger children to grasp. So I'd recommend it probably in the 8 to 10 plus range, depending on a variety of factors. And adults can certainly enjoy it too, particularly non-gamers. But it's not something that you're going to want if you're looking for a heavier or more involved experience, as it's pretty linear. You know, you've got your movement division, your oil harvesting, and then your bidding, auctioning, whatever you want to call it. So, what you're doing is collecting money, which is essentially your points in this game. You don't actually spend money, you spend sales licenses, the terminologies, yeah. It is what it is. So, without any further ado, let us get on to how the game plays out.
Show the reference sheets.
Ah, the reference sheets. Very well, very well. They're all covered in bits, but this is the player reference board that essentially breaks down the entire game for you. A clever person could skip large chunks of the rule book just looking at the board. But, yeah, probably should read it. So, do we have any more ado, or can we move on there, camera?
You're good.
Alright, then we shall do so.
Unless you wanted to explain the black train.
Is it still on? Really? Okay, we'll cover the black train too. The black train is essentially the round counter. Each round you'll be flipping one special card, and whether or not it's taken, the black train symbol at the top is how many spaces the black train will move. And once it reaches the end here, the game is over. So, are we out of ado yet there, Peaches?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See you in a second. Okay, and we are back. So, I will, as per usual, play out a little bit of mock game here. This is going to be... It's set up as a 4-player game, but I'm just going to run 2 of the people because, let's face it, I'm one man. I have limits, dagnabbit. Now,
You could always say 2 of the players have already taken their turn.
yes, that. Except that that wouldn't make any sense with going through the phases.
Yeah.
Anyway, so first thing we're going to do is adjust the oil prices. So starting at the top, I'll roll the dice for each one. Now this is a blue number 4, if you can see that at all. So, since the current price is in the white range, and I rolled a blue result, I'm going to move it up 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. Now, if the indicator had been in the red, it would have moved up no matter what color I rolled. And if it had been in the blue, it would have moved down no matter what color I rolled. Excuse me. Alright, so number 2, red 3. But it's in the blue, so it's going down regardless. 1, 2, 3. And finally, blue 4. Oh my. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8,500 bucks. So there would definitely be some competition for U.S. Standard Oil Trust. But at any rate, next up in the game, we have the action cards, where we will, now normally these would be in 2 separate piles. For some reason they're in one pile. You put out 1 gray card per player, and then 1 brown card, regardless of the number of players. So, if this were hypothetically a two-player game, we'd have a dummy player and things would work a little different, but we're pretending it's a more-player game. So, I'll flip over the available sentences.
It's now officially a two-player game.
Well, I'm not going to run the dummy player.
We don't have a dummy player.
Anyway. So, with the licenses here, first player for the round would be able to choose whichever one he wanted. Special effects on the brown card. He'll just go ahead and take this, though. A good spread of licenses and movement. And let's say the other person took the other gray card. So we'll give this to old purple here, and this to blue. Then we would move on to deal sales licenses, wherein they're each issued some licenses based on the card they chose. 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Now remember, again, these sales licenses are the things you'll be using to bid for the rights to sell your oil. So, next up, we have the prospect and drill for oil phase, or as I always call it, the moving around phase, in which you can take your movement from the card and use it to traverse the board. Let's say purple moves his little track 1 over, 1 up, and decides to inspect this potential drilling site. Now, he can peek at the tile here and see that it's a 3 because it doesn't have the hazard symbol. If the hazard symbol is present, you can't peek at it. You have to just buy it. So, purple could decide that, 3 is good enough. He'll go ahead and pay the money for a level 1 drilling site. Or he could pass. Let's say he buys it. So he will take the required amount of money from his supply. That's 4,000. Okay. Put it back. Get to the little bag of oil plumes over here. Take out his derrick, put it there, and put some oil in it. Now, over to the blue player, who appears to have shifted halfway across the world.
I'll put them back together.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. Excuse me. So, back to the blue player over here. He has a whopping 14 movement points available. And he's thinking that it might be a good opportunity to move his train up a bit. So, oops, or over. So since he's in the 1 cost section, he could go 1, 2, 3 for 3 points. But as soon as he crosses this line, he's paying 2 for each space. So it would be 5, 7, 9, and that's probably far enough on his train for now. Then he could bring his truck around 10, 11, 12, 13, and that's going to be it for him because he doesn't have the points to cross the bad terrain. So, then with that phase over, we move on to selling oil. So, we're going to now pluck plume, or no, I'm sorry, I skipped a phase. It's the extract and transport oil phase, in which everyone checks that their train is far enough ahead of their derricks, and removes 1 plume from each of their derricks that has a plume. And when a derrick's empty, you take it off the board, and chooses where to place it.
Or dig deeper.
Oh, that's right. You can pay money to try and get deeper into the ground, but doesn't that take a special action? It's on the brown cards.
No, it's a payable action. Just
any time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, somebody who's really curious can consult the rule book on that. So, moving blue's licenses out of the way here. Let's say purple. Purple wants to go for the big one. He wants it all. He wants to be a million, billion, trillionaire. Blue, having only one Derek, is thinking that he would really like to just get some money right now, but he can't just hand purple that much income, so he's going to place his plume over there as well. Then we'll move on to the selling oil phase, where we'll bid with our sales licenses, 1 and 2 value, to for the right to sell oil there. But nobody actually has anything super to lose at the moment, because other than the price changing, these guys aren't going to go away or anything. It's up to 2 that you can store at each place. So they would do their little bidding thing, which I'm not going to try and act out because that would be silly. Then you check to see if you have more than 2 oil at any of these places, and then the round resets. Now, as a multiplayer bidding game, this is really, really hard to act out. I think you've gotten a basic idea of what goes on here, so let's move on to the summary phase. Okay, so Black Gold is an interesting game, certainly. I would sum it up by saying it's good, but not great. It's definitely a bit light for my taste, and as my chili beans, or children as normal people call them, are just a little too young to really get into this, it doesn't see a lot of play. It's certainly an interesting game, but it wouldn't be my first choice for bidding, and a lot of times the movement aspects feel kind of a little tacked on almost. It's got fantastic components for its price. I mean, geez, this game goes for 30, 40 bucks at the moment, somewhere in that range.
Got it for 5.
Oh yeah, we got well, you probably heard that, but we got it for $5 out of FFG's holiday sale. So this game may well be going out of print, knowing them, but I don't know. I'm no insider. It's one that, for a very specific group, could certainly be appealing. It could be a great intro to auction bidding kind of stuff, but I also kind of feel like the setup is just a little too extensive for what you get out of it. You have to sort out the boards and 50,000 tiles, and it's really kind of a pain in the butt, honestly. I mean, mechanically, it's a great game. Well, not great, good. Sorry, I've got to get my terms consistent.
It's long.
Yeah, it's also, thank you, drags on much longer than it should. This game can take a good long time. It sounds like I'm bringing up more negatives than positives, but really it's not a bad game. It is fun. It's just, it's not the first thing I would go to for any of the mechanics it represents. It's, again, good, not great. So, I mean, if you find it for a great price, thrift store, holiday sale, something like that, by all means, pick it up. If nothing else, you can have fun, going meow with your little train, and hey, trains aren't allowed in the oil fields. Get out of here, you train. They're neat bits. They really are.
The oil plumes are my favorite.
What's that?
The oil plumes are my favorite.
Yeah. They get a little stuck together sometimes. They're a very tight fit. But yeah, so it's one I would probably call a borrow it sort of game, which through my budget system is something where you should definitely play it before you spend your precious, precious monies on it. So in conclusion, it's good, not great. So any questions, comments, feel free to, let me know. Feel free to yell at me for the 1,000 rule mistakes I no doubt made. Anyway, have a great day. Play some more games. See you. No, you'll see me later.
Next time.